Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack here on the Fantasy Six Pack network of podcasts. We're going to talk ADP, startups, and Dynasty Fantasy Football. So stay tuned. Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Dynasty Six Pack. Like I mentioned, we're here on the Fantasy Six Pack network of podcasts, YouTube channel. We're streaming on a few places like Facebook as well. So make sure to subscribe to wherever you listen to the podcast, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe there. Give us the thumbs up as well on the YouTube videos, comment as well. And most importantly, join us here in the live stream. We are part of the Fantasy Six Pack Live channel of podcasts. So we're gonna answer any questions that may come up, but really the topic today is Dynasty Startup ADP. And may as well start up by introducing the hosts. My co-host Rahul Natarajan. Rahul, how are you?
Hey Kyle, hey Jamie, doing well. Excited yet again for another episode. First episode of June. With that brings a bit of a different feel in the air on these fantasy football streets. We're getting ever closer to kickoff. We're under 100 days before the the NFL season kicks off and fantasy with it. So very excited to get into startup ADP today. Should be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's June, right? That's what we've decided. May was rookie month, but June's really going to be startup month, and we're going to talk a lot about startup drafts really throughout this entire month. And I guess the first thing to do is take a look at the ADP. And this very creative topic and specific method for this episode is from the artist formerly known as Big Game James. I'm just kidding. He's still known as Big Game James, but he's also known as Jamie Perog. How are you, Jamie?
Doing great. So I love this episode. We're going to dominate the competition. I'm in the middle of a startup right now, and what better way to dominate your league mates but to leave them in a pile of blood, hence my background. So let's get into it.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm Kyle Senra, and you can follow us on Twitter at Senra Says, at Small Talk FF for Rahul, and at Jamie Perog for, again, the artist formerly and currently known as Jamie. I guess, we're currently going to go right to round one. Actually, I'm going to share the screen here. So actually, Jamie, while I'm setting that up, do you want, because this was the spot you kind of chose for this. So I'll let you kind of intro where specifically we're looking at.
Okay, so if you go to Dynasty Daddy, you just go to the player rankings, but then you can go to the ADP Daddy, and it has over 3,300 some drafts that they're actually real drafts that they average all the current startup ADPs in the one list.
And so how many drafts did you say again?
Hold on, let me look.
I think it says
3,300 or yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jamie. Yeah, on my desktop it's saying from 40,000 real drafts. So might have been off by a factor of 10.
So wait, yours
could that potentially be the whole site? That's everything included, all of it? Because the website we're using, Dynasty Daddy, has different sort of components. You can look at the keep trade cut. You can, and maybe that's, I guess, I don't know. Keep trade cut isn't really draft.
Okay, so I just changed it to the ADP Daddy, and it says 333,008 real drafts. So that's a big difference.
Keep looking every minute. It's going to be more, folks.
Can we get up to 3 million?
Yeah.
All to say, yeah. But all to say, that this is a lot of data from not just one source, but a lot of different sources.
Yeah, I mean, you can sort it by keep trade cut, dynasty process, draft sharks, but I prefer doing the dynasty for the ADP Daddy.
Anyway, sorry. Worst time to get a drink, I guess. Sorry, guys. Here, I will share the screen right now of the ADP, and this is the first round Superflex ADP. It doesn't really matter. You can see it on the screen, but yes, the first round. So we're just going to go round by round for as long as we can, really. We get trade of the week later, which I did realize we actually started with the trade of the week scrolling on at the bottom. So anyone who was watching got a good shot at the trade of the week already. But that's okay. No spoilers, doesn't matter. But I guess the big spoiler here is right away. I mean, Josh Allen as the number 1 player. That's maybe not so surprising, but to see Ja'Marr Chase right here at number 2, that's, I guess, that's pretty interesting. But reading through Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, get a bit of a quarterback run there. Justin Jefferson, the second wide receiver, is number 6, and that's the first half of the draft. And I guess my first question really wanted to center on Ja'Marr Chase. I assume for all of us that really stands out, and what stands out is I'm hiding Jamie's face here. So
you're good. No one needs to look at me.
We do have a cool logo. You do have a cool background, so we're not to deprive the world of your artistic creation, I guess. But, sorry, his league mates for all that. But I guess, my first question is, and I know for both of you, Ja'Marr Chase was your top-ranked wide receiver. Imagine your top-ranked non-quarterback in Superflex. But so we could use Chase as the example, but really that question is, where do you guys think the first non-quarterback should go in a Superflex startup? Where would you be most comfortable taking it? What's the first pick where you're going to be making that jump and taking, in your case, Ja'Marr Chase?
Yeah, I can jump in right here. I guess 4 is the earliest I really could perceive taking Chase, and even then, just the way I do like to draft in the startup. I think it's even if before we address Chase, is there is a big difference between startup values and existing league values. And even if a matter of 2 spots, it doesn't say much, but I like to go in and secure those QB spots in a Superflex league. So 4 at the very earliest, because I do have that top tier of 3 QBs, just the ones that you named right around him. I could see down to 6 after a Burrow and Hurts, but no, 2 is a little too early for me to start one and then have to wait until the back half of the second round to go for my first quarterback.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to say 4 at the earliest, 6 at the latest. If you go with those top 3 quarterbacks, and then maybe you think about Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow, and then it's Ja'Marr Chase.
I think you're on mute, Kyle.
Oh.
So to me, the tush shove or the brotherly push, whatever they call it, it hasn't been banned. So I guess that was going to be the next point to make, is that we didn't mention Jalen Hurts in the ADP. He is 7th currently. And so you can kind of make maybe almost a tier break there. But I have a really hard time taking a wide receiver over Jalen Hurts with his weekly rushing touchdown upside. So I'm pretty sold on it's got to be 5 at the very earliest. And it's funny because I think I have an easier time doing it because I have Justin Jefferson ranked ahead of Ja'Marr Chase. I have an easier time clicking 105 Justin Jefferson than I do Ja'Marr Chase at 105. And it's simply because I'm looking at, if I'm not going Ja'Marr Chase, if I don't want to go receiver, I'm looking at Joe Burrow. And if I've got to look at Joe Burrow versus Ja'Marr Chase, pick 5 of a startup, again, not knowing if you're getting which quarterback you're getting on the way back, I have a really hard time clicking Ja'Marr Chase. I just feel if I'm going to be investing in a Bengals player and Ja'Marr Chase goes off, it's probably really good for Joe Burrow. This past season, Ja'Marr Chase finishes the wide receiver 1. I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow had his best fantasy finish of his career. Wasn't he a top 5 quarterback? This really reminds me of Dak Prescott, 2019, 2020 Dak Prescott, where the passing volume was just insane. You could put up a top 5 season. So to me, if you believe in Chase and you want to bet on Chase, I think I'd rather just draft Burrow, still making that bet on Chase in a sense because he's getting all those points, but then he's also getting the production of, if T. Higgins catches 2 touchdowns that game, I've got Ja'Marr Chase. I'm not happy about that, but I'm happy if I have Burrow. So just the value of quarterback alone, and then the fact that on their own team, the symbiotic relationship of if you're getting one, you're getting both. But if you get Chase, you're getting his production, which could be insane, but you're not getting anything else. I'd just rather have Burrow there. So to me, it's 106 as the earliest for Chase in theory, but I might mess it up because I have Jefferson, and I'm looking at Jefferson versus Burrow. I really like the process shouldn't be any different. I should still like Burrow over Jefferson, and I feel like I probably would if given a pick at 105. I'm probably just going to take the quarterback, take Burrow, leave Jefferson and Chase as the next two. But do we all agree that like the ADP of the top 7 really makes sense? Because I think that's how I would have the top 7. Maybe not that order, but those are the 7 players I would have. Is there any disagreements?
No, everything looks good. That's what I would shoot for.
Pretty spot on. Yeah. But like I said, like before we went online, like I'm very glad that we're doing this based on real drafts. Because it feels pretty accurate. That being said, just to go on a little tangent of Hurts, I feel like that's the player out of this like top 7 that I see screenshots occasionally on Twitter of people like flexing their startup drafts, and they're like, oh, 112 Jalen Hurts, 201 Jalen Hurts. And that's the guy that we talk about, like ADV, artificial dynasty value, all the time. And that's one guy that may not be for everyone. It'll be maybe now that we're like post the tush push decision that he might be like locked into a top 7, but a little early in the summer I saw a bit of a discount on Jalen Hurts. So congrats to anyone who got a startup right before the tush push and got him in a little, at the turn or something like that.
Should have tried to trade for him. Oh well. All right. I bought a lot of Jalen Hurts last year, and everyone was freaking out that Jason Kelsey was gone. That it wasn't going to work. Yeah. So anyway. Right behind Hurts, we then have the rest of the first round. 2 running backs back to back. Bijan Robinson at 8, Jahmyr Gibbs at 9. Back to the quarterbacks with Patrick Mahomes at 10, and we get our first tight end, Brock Bowers, the thumbnail image of the week 2. And this is so well timed because honestly, when I checked earlier, he actually was in the second round. So I'm glad that by the time the episode came out, he came in the first round. That's amazing. Thank you, people drafting Brock Bowers apparently, and then closing out the first round, another rookie. Or from last year anyway. There's I guess 3 rookies from last year in the first round, and closes out with Malik Neighbors at the 112. So any thoughts about this the back end of this top 7, or sorry, after the top 7?
Well, for me, I wouldn't go Bijan or Gibbs that early. It's just I don't draft running backs a lot in startups. I like to build around the elite young receivers, so I would go. I don't even think they're listed. I know Puka's listed, but Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, people like that, I would take over the running backs.
So, and I guess Rahul, you can answer this too. Like, do you guys think like they shouldn't go in the first round at all?
No, they definitely belong there because of their age, and I mean they're elite running backs. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jamie. Like, they're pretty accurately valued, and then it just comes back to how you like to build your team. Now, if you think like if you're a what do they call it? Third round reversal, maybe then you like look at like the top 36. And you can kind of like plan around that. Maybe you plan like with your second pick to address the QBs because. A little spoiler for the second round is I like some of the QB values in there.
Yeah.
But in isolation, 8 overall, 9th overall is a little too high for me for a running back in Superflex.
I'm looking right now at my rankings, and I do have them 11th and 12th in the Superflex. And I think I like that as the last 2 picks of the first round, you can have a good idea of who you're going to get on the second coming back around. At this point, you could. Especially in Superflex, you probably really, if I'm going to take a risky pick with the running back, I should probably take a really safe pick with the quarterback next. You can probably, especially at 111, it's tough to really think that, but you could probably guarantee you're going to get a quarterback. Certainly at the 112, you know who your second round pick is going to be. So it's easy to take one of those running backs and just immediately pair them with a quarterback. So I like it, 11, 12. 8, 9 feels risky because you don't really know what you're getting on the way back. So I too tend to agree, but I think we all agree that first rounders make sense for them.
Yeah, well, in my rankings, I have the top 3, 13, 14, and 15, right outside the top 12. That's just the way I like to draft.
Yep. All right, so that makes sense there. And I had Brock Bowers in the thumbnail image, so we have to talk about Brock Bowers. Do you think he belongs in the first round?
Yeah, he's right at 11. That's where I would take him. If I missed out on like the CeeDee Lamb or Puka or Patrick Mahomes, I'll go after Brock Bowers.
Man, you guys know I'm a half PPR guy, and that makes it a little more difficult of a click. But you're certainly
I assume
not.
this is PPR scoring, right, Jamie?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't.
Yeah, it looks like
PPR,
it.
yeah. I think it makes sense. Man, I'm really having a hard time thinking about these guys because of who's sitting there at 13 just out of shot. So if you wanted to scroll down even one pick, that could help. But Brock Bowers at 11 is a fine pick. I mean, this is a guy who set the rookie reception record for any position, the tight end receiving yard record as a rookie, and just him in contrast with Sam Laporta, who was going as a tight end 1 just a year ago. Look, their seasons were completely different, even if they scored very similar points per game. Laporta had less than 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, whereas Bowers is, if I'm not mistaken, like 1,100 yards and only 5 touchdowns.
I think it was
It's just
five,
like way more projectable, yeah. So I'd be fine with Brock Bowers at that range.
It's funny because last year in the rookie drafts, Neighbors was constantly going in the top 4, and I definitely remember a draft where I wanted so badly to trade into to get Neighbors, and I used Brock Bowers as a way to get that. And I think I'd continue to make that trade. I got Chase Brown back as kind of what looked like a flyer at the time. That turned out to be amazing. But just straight up Bowers for Neighbors, I think I'd still do that again. So I have a hard time clicking Bowers over Neighbors in spite of the tight end scarcity. There's a lot of other names I'd rather just take than the tight end. And again, this is I'm viewing this. My rankings are just across the board PPR for Dynasty, so it is no tight end premium. But I've got Bowers at 16th overall, and it's most of that tier at wide receiver. There's a couple. I guess I got 6 receivers ahead of him. A couple more quarterbacks. One that's on screen now, Patrick Mahomes, but there's another quarterback as well. I think we all have ranked in that second tier that I would rather have that QB. Mentioned both the running backs as well. I have a really hard time clicking the first round tight end. So I guess I'll disagree and say, in spite of me choosing Brock Bowers for the image this week, I guess part of it was the polarizing topic because I did want to bring it up and see, and I'm glad there is so much pushback because he can be a true difference maker at a position where those are so few. It's tough to get that many like truly elite. We produce so much higher than the rest of the field type of tight ends. You can't just catch 1 touchdown and catch up to me. You've got to get 2 touchdowns, and these guys are catching 8-9 passes sometimes. Like those true difference making targets. There's so few, but there's enough others that exist, and there's also ways to get other tight ends cheaply that a lot of times in drafts I try to take the path of playing chicken at tight end. How cheap can I go at tight end and still get someone that I feel comfortable with putting in my week 1 lineup? I do that a lot, not just in Dynasty. So I guess I tend to lean against Bowers because of that. Sorry, Jamie.
In my current startup, Bowers went 108, but it is 0.75 tight end premium. I ended up getting TJ Hawkinson at 711, and he's in my top 5. So, like you said, playing chicken, like I feel comfortable with TJ Hawkinson.
Guys
7 rounds later.
Values. To me, Hawkinson, Njoku, and Ingram, they're all like good target earning tight ends. I feel like going so much later. I don't mind talking about them now because we might not even get to them where they are in this ADP. But it's funny how we talked about basically everyone in this end range except Patrick Mahomes, who's like the biggest, most noteworthy player in football. So should we talk about Mahomes? Do you guys think, is he still a first rounder in your eyes?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, he's going to be consistent. I think he does get back up into that top 5.
Yeah,
just for redraft. Yeah,
I think I have him QB6 both Dynasty and just redraft heading into the year. Last year's reason for drafting Mahomes is the offense should regress. It was like under a 30-point average for the first time in the Mahomes era, and then somehow got even worse in the last season. But statistics say he should regress, but I also do think the defense is what will regress back a little more. They also get Rashid Rice back, Xavier Worthy with another year in the offense. I do feel pretty comfortable with Mahomes in that range. Man, yeah, it's funny because seeing Mahomes even at 10 at the back of the first is something that we would have thought absurd like a year ago at any point in the last like 3 to 5 years, right? So I would stick to my guns and take Mahomes in that range for sure.
I actually have him at 14. So I do have him just outside the first round. He's again a couple QBs just ahead of Bowers. And I think I'm willing to take the risk on getting like my choice of that tier receiver or either of those running backs and then risking getting Mahomes kind of on the way back. Right? Because if you miss out on Bijan and Gibbs, you change the construction. That might not be a bad thing to not get the running backs anyway and not be forced to build around the running backs. But I feel like if I miss Mahomes, there's enough other quarterbacks in that second tier that I feel like I can get them at a value. I'm not worried about missing on Mahomes like I am with Burrow, even though we talked about in back to episode 2 of Burrow being in the same tier as these guys. The more time's gone on, the more I kind of almost view Burrow in a tier of his own. I feel like he can get that true he's like the prototypical feeling for a passer, like for a pure passer. Like you're almost hoping like all the Strouds and even Mahomes basically just does what Burrow did last year. You can just do what Burrow does last year. You're kind of golden. Again, we've seen Dak Prescott have those types of seasons before. Like that archetype it feels like he's the most repeatable to keep doing that. He's the one who can predict to do it the most. So I kind of view him a tier above. And that's why I've kind of distanced Burrow and Mahomes a bit in the rankings.
Yeah. If you think back to our second episode where we talked tier 2s and then JV and I were sneakily in the notes adding mini tiers. I think we had it exactly that way.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Wait, I'm so confused. Episode 2. Luckily, I'm wearing the Going for 2 hat, but that's the best time to go to round 2, or it says second round here. I guess I should have gone with round 2 as the round number as the banner signs. But yes, just want to get the entire second round in here. So. CeeDee Lamb, that's that name you wanted to mention, Rahul. And CeeDee Lamb's at 13. We got the rookie Ashton Genty at 14. The rookie 101 makes sense. He'd be the first rookie to appear here. And as you can see, there's no other R's, so not getting any other rookies in this round. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 15. Saquon Barkley 16. Puka Nacua 17. And Brian Thomas Jr. at 18. So we've got almost finished out that second round of receivers there. But Rahul, Lamb was that name you wanted to bring up. So if you want to talk about CeeDee Lamb, go ahead.
Yeah,
I think we might all agree he should be the first pick of this round because he probably should be. All of us, I think, agree he should be in the first round. But of these players, he should be the highest.
I think certainly. I think CeeDee Lamb is still in that tier 1 of dynasty wide receivers for me, just alongside Chase and Justin Jefferson. Just 2 years ago, CeeDee Lamb was the one providing difference-making numbers like Chase just did. Of course, Tyreek Hill had an equally good season, but CeeDee Lamb has shown he can be like that 20-plus, certainly in PPR, but even half PPR, 20-plus point scorer per week. And I think especially again, it's like a matter of 7 picks, right? But the discount you seem to be getting on CeeDee Lamb in comparison to Jefferson and certainly to Chase, I feel really good about that. And if anything, I just did a couple early redraft rankings, and I actually had CeeDee Lamb as my wide receiver 2 ahead of Justin Jefferson. I think George Pickens coming in on the face of it, some might shy away from or say it's a negative in sense of volume. Like, yeah, CeeDee Lamb could have been like projected for 200 targets before Pickens arrived, but I really love that they finally added a competent weapon next to Lamb and one that's so complementary to what CD does best in George Pickens. George is gonna, just keep running those outside routes and let CD come in. He ran like 50% of his routes from the slot last year, and those are so conducive for fantasy points. And I just think that it's not going to take away from CD, but only add to what he can do in terms of racking up fantasy points. So long-winded way of saying very in on CD Lamb, and I certainly think he's in my top tier of dynasty wide receivers. So it feels like a bit of a discount here.
Yeah, certainly. Jamie, I know you had him in your second tier, but do you also view him as he should be a first rounder?
Yeah, I got him top 10 easily. If you miss out on Jefferson and Chase, I'm going after Lamb. Lamb is my number 3. So if you can get that discount, outside the top 12, I'll take it.
I mean, I look back to that first round, and basically, to me, he'd be the number 8 pick. Like after that Hurts pick, he's probably the next guy that's going off the board for me. I'm definitely taking him over the running backs.
Yep.
And like I mentioned, like I'll take my choice of Lamb rather than take Mahomes there.
Yeah, that would be the tough decision.
It is, and I think
Mahomes or Lamb.
Yeah, I think again, I'm seeing enough of a gap between Mahomes and Burrow in my mind. Like I feel like it's really flipped to that. I don't know if maybe it should, maybe that's wrong, but the Burrow versus Chase argument, I make it the other way with the wide receiver and Lamb, and I think part of it is I agree with Rahul of Lamb being in that same tier alongside Chase and Jefferson. I definitely go Lamb over Bowers. Like that's again, I'm the guy that thinks Bowers shouldn't be a first rounder. You start to get into the tight end premiums. I agree. Neighbors, that's the one guy I'm starting to question. Like, how high should I be on Neighbors?
I guess to come back, sorry, but Bowers, and just like theorizing why he might be so high is I think we might be underestimating how many like 10-team, 8-team short lineup leagues might actually have contributed to this. And the shorter the lineup get, the smaller the league size. That's when the tight end, the elite tight end, could be bumped up a little bit. But otherwise, agree completely with what you said, and kind of exactly where you pace CD Lamb 8. I think seems like where I would take him. So 5-spot discount, we'll take that.
Well, and just for the theory of what you were just saying about the league size, one of the things I've always said with your quarterbacks, like the more teams, the more scarcity. So a 16-team league, the quarterbacks are going to be highly valued. But I almost think it's the opposite for tight ends, in that there's so few difference makers that if you're in a 16-team league, more than half the league doesn't have those difference-making tight ends. There might only be 5 or 6 of them. So you're not, in your weekly matchups, you're not seeing an elite tight end on the other side as much. So you might not need it as much. So I tend to view the more teams there are, the less I want to rely on the tight ends, which to your point, if it's an 8-team league, that's the type of league where in the past, when I've done 8-team leagues, and I have done both extremes. I've played in leagues with 8 teams. I've played in leagues with 16, and I definitely go more aggressive on the tight ends in the 8-team. So
yeah, exactly.
I agree with you that because you feel like you have to get one. Like everyone's going to have a really good tight end, so you have to get one just to keep up. In the 16-team league, like barely anyone's going to have one, so you don't worry about it. I think with leagues, like the roster size, I think it's the same as well. I guess the fewer, to me, I guess the quarterback and tight ends both boost the fewer roster spots there are, because usually with more flex spots, those are more wide receivers and running backs. So like the more you might favor wide receivers and even more depth, the more starters there are. So yes, small starters and small number of teams that might boost Bowers up a little bit. Some good theory talk there, Cole.
Small talk FF.
Well, it was a small conversation considering our typical length of conversations. But the one other guy I really want to talk about was Amon-Ra St. Brown. It relates again back to the running backs because like I'd go Neighbors over the 2 RBs as well. That's why I think they should be pushed down. Like I'm really viewing Neighbors as the clear wide receiver 4 for me. And this just his insane target share last year. Every time I look at the data, I see 34%. Man, that's insane. Like that's maybe he should be up there with Lamb and Chase and Jefferson. But even if he's not, I still view him as that number 4. Amon-Ra is that next guy, and I then go back to the same teammate argument I made with Burrow and Chase. I have a hard time clicking Jahmyr Gibbs over Amon-Ra St. Brown. 2 players in the same team, the same explosive offense. But if we're talking dynasty, I think you, and especially how consistent he is, I think you can get a lot more usable seasons with Amon-Ra as opposed to Gibbs, even though Gibbs might spike in the RB1, as we saw last year, more easily than Amon-Ra will be the wide receiver 1. But if you get 6-7 more top 6 seasons from Amon-Ra, that's probably more worth it. He's going to be still an elite producer maybe by the time Gibbs is out of the league. And maybe as we see running backs age a little better in this age of football, I don't know if there's a flawed thinking there, but I would just look in a startup. And if I'm thinking both Lions players in a dynasty startup, I think I want to just default to the wide receiver and get that long-term value. Especially who's a very weekly safe player, but also a yearly safe player.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like I said, I like to go elite receiver anyway over those running backs.
I think we're finally like starting to get to that line where I might consider clicking the RB. and I only mean to say that is there's such scarcity of young elite producing RBs at any given time, like at any given year. Bijan, Gibbs, Genty hasn't played yet, but I think projection wise, he's up in that like kind of tier.
And that might be the point, is that the third guy we haven't even seen play a snap yet, so we don't even really know for sure. That's how like young we're having to go at running backs. Take guys that haven't even played yet, right? And
yeah,
like and that's the kind of bet we're making. So at least Gibbs and Bijan, they provide the certainty, but also the youth. Like it's the mix of both is really there with them. And I guess Achane is like, to me, the next guy that has that, but he's not quite the same level producer as Gibbs and Bijan. Gibbs is really he's the RB1 last year, right? Like why are we talking more about him? Why isn't he more hyped? But
yeah, I'd rather, in a startup situation, I would not want to be the one to make the first move and pick a running back. You know, again, maybe some of this discussion is zeroing in on individual players, but I go back to Amon-Ra is actually someone that I actually might be a little shakier on than consensus. And I just kind of look at the target share year to year. He dropped from 10 targets to about 8 targets a game. He actually had quite a few poor games masked by like an eight games in a row with at least 1 touchdown. And so I don't want to make it an individual conversation, but like I think we're finally getting to that line where, okay, like I might decide, like, now that I've added my cornerstone QB or my Justin Jefferson or my CD Lamb, like, okay, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan are kind of, on the docket. But
well, again, in a lot of these cases, we're talking about this as being the first round pick, right? Like, so you're probably not getting Jefferson and Gibbs. Like, you really are having to. I mean, in theory, you could be picking at 12 and decide I'm going to go Gibbs and Amon-Ra. Like, do we just really hope to get Goff later? Go with the full Lions stack. Like, I know it's more of a best ball thing. I suppose in best ball, you might really love to do that actually. But I don't know. Still, though, I think Amon-Ra is a top 15 pick here, at least in Dynasty Daddy ADP. I guess that next player we haven't talked about yet at number 14, Ashton Genty. Is this too early for the rookie? We've already referenced him a little bit.
I think it's a little too late.
Oh.
Honestly, technically, I think that's a good spot for him. But I don't like how this ADP has Bijan and Gibbs above him, which I have him right below Genty.
Oh.
So you've raised Genty to be your RB1.
No, he's always been my RB1.
Oh, because really? Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Since when? Because when we did our number 1 episode, we all had Bijan as the RB1.
I don't remember. But
since he made that trade that hit our inbox earlier.
No.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure one of the episodes.
Fair, Jamie, one massive thing has taken place since that first episode is the NFL draft. We know Genty is the 6th overall.
Yeah, well, it was after
Raiders.
It was an episode after the draft that we did. I mentioned Genty was my number 1.
Our first episode was March. So I mean, we were like, I think basically like the combine might have happened by the time our first episode did. So, and I think did Genty? I don't even think he did anything at the combine, right? So we wouldn't have got any more hype off him there. It's really just we expected him to go in the top 10 of the NFL draft, but it was just until you see it, you don't know for sure. Now we've seen it, so I suppose like just the draft alone happening, like that could be a significant enough thing to make it happen. It's like, okay, he for sure got the capital. He's 2 years younger than these other guys and like 2 years less in the NFL. So, all right. Well, I guess Jamie is okay. So so 3 running backs in the first round. Is that what you're saying, Jamie?
Well, no, I got all of them right at
right.
The beginning of the
that's
second
what.
round.
Yeah. Okay. Now your comment earlier. I wonder why you said 3 names. Okay. Now I understand. It wasn't just Gibbs.
Yeah. So 13, 14, 15 would be Genty, Bijan, Gibbs.
Okay. So none of them in the first round. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Now my brain's working. Okay. Now it is. More than half an hour into the episode. I'm a little late. Okay. So to me, Genty is actually behind. It's the same thing, teammates, right? Like, we've seen Bowers be this difference-making tight end. I have a really hard time clicking Genty over Bowers when we've known what Bowers can be. Like, that's the point where I think I'll go tight end. You know, maybe that's. Am I wrong to think of Genty as we all assume he's going to do well, but again, until we see him do well, I have a hard time really putting him in that first round or close to first round tiers. So.
Yeah, well, I have Bowers over Genty by a few spots.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go Bowers.
Rahul, Bowers or Genty if you're taking a Raiders player to start your dynasty team.
Wow, that's so close. Bowers, man. That's very tough. It's funny again. You talk all this talk about teammates. Just it keeps making me think of last year when we had 2 Jets players in like the top 10 of redraft best ball, and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And I'm someone without, you guys know, not too much like football history, and people are like, just you can never trust the Jets, and both of them, neither of them like kind of return that value. And is there something on the back of my mind that 2 Raiders players this high might be a little risky? We'll have to see.
Just don't take both, right? Like I think it's the same thing, right? You're not going to build a team about Gibbs or Amon-Ra. You're probably going to make that choice for both. And same thing here, right? Like if you're picking, I guess the way ADP lines up, 11 is Bowers, 14 is Genty. But like if you're picking at 14 and you just went Bowers, like you probably aren't going to take Genty there. You might take another wide receiver. Heck, you might take a division stack quarterback anyway. So yeah, I guess team building is also key to this, right? You're not always just going to take ADP based on the number that's there. Like your roster construction does matter to a certain extent. You want to get the most value really early. All these players are super valuable, and it really does come down to player takes is who do you think will be the most value, right? Okay, draft for value, that really comes in the next few rounds. But everyone here is super valuable, so you really got to. This is where you're hammering your player takes.
Yeah. I guess to comment on Genty though, I struggle. Like again, in an existing league, is he the 14th overall player? Like possibly, but just some of these names that you can even see on your view, that fall below Genty, wide receivers, quarterbacks. I think I would struggle to take Genty at 14 while some of these names are still on the board. Myself, but I'm sure we'll move on to them in a second.
Well, okay, we can move on now and say that I think there's a couple players in the second round that I really start to think, man, these guys are going really early. Like, I think we all kind of agree. Okay, we see the running backs at 8 and 9. That's too early, but it doesn't feel like it's a round or two too early. Whereas there's a couple names here in the second, one in particular that I think, man, dynasty startup,
right?
Coming off the season he just had, I get it, but Saquon Barkley 16th overall. There's still some of these tier 2 wide receivers, tier 2 quarterbacks. I mean, heck, like he's not even my RB4. So just not even to mention whatever running backs there are. So I don't think Barkley should be a second rounder. I'm looking at my dynasty rankings right now. He's overall 36. That's actually end of the third round. So to me, 16th overall is too high.
I also got him in the 30s somewhere.
Yeah. 35. Yeah. But exactly. I think Barkley, especially, and I guess it could be CMC from a few years ago. Like you guys put in whatever name you want, but having that aging RB as your, early to mid second round pick almost like handcuffs you in a way in a startup draft. You want to be able to be flexible, sig while others zag, and insert any other cliche in the book here. But once you take Barkley, there's almost a sense that, okay, you want to be really building for the next 2 years. Like it's hard to look out past that window because then one of your highest drafted assets might, no longer be productive.
Yeah. And, tough to, the trade value. You're taking Barkley, he's not going to go any higher in value while he's on your team. You are drafting him for the points. And it feels like second round is too early to just be drafting for points in a dynasty start.
Yeah. And if you end up drafting Barkley in any dynasty redraft, whatever, go get Will Shipley on your team too.
Yes.
I'm not even drafting Barkley, and I'm taking Shipley. I got him in like the 21st round today.
AJ Dillon's there too.
Who cares about Dillon?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the AJ Dillon, but yeah, maybe there's some Packers bias there. After Barkley, we get to these tier 2 wide receivers. Puka Nacua 17, Brian Thomas Jr. at 18. We get Trey McBride at 19. And then we get a quarterback run here at the end of the second round. Caleb Williams at 20, Justin Herbert 21. Then we take a little break from that QB run to get one last wide receiver in Nico Collins at 22, followed by another couple quarterbacks, CJ Stroud and Bo Nix.
So one thing that sticks out to me is Caleb Williams. Like, why so early?
He was the other guy I was referencing earlier. Like Barkley's the guy that's probably like a round and a half too early. Caleb's probably at least a round too early. I agree with you there.
Yeah, maybe Bo Nix above him, CJ Stroud above him. There's a guy that's not even on this list that I have above all these.
I mean, I've got like 4 quarterbacks ahead of Caleb that aren't mentioned here. So
yeah,
he's 33 for me, so he's not that far away from Barkley. So they're close here in this ADP, and I agree they should be close, but to me, they're both going in the wrong round.
Like I could see in a third round taking Caleb Williams, but not the second.
I guess I'll be the contrarian here. I think that's completely fine for Caleb. We do have to talk about like the prospect, obviously, and like the situation that now with Ben Johnson there. But those are still like, intangibles. Like those are just words until we see it, both the prospect and the offense. One very concrete fact is how much Caleb Williams actually ran last year. And maybe that could just be like the offensive system was so poor that he had to really like scramble around, but he was regularly putting up like 50 plus rush yard games. And I think that's one extra quiver to his arrow, or damn, metaphor's failing me right now, but like it like makes me believe he can be like an elite scoring fantasy quarterback. So with those like 3 factors, I'm actually completely comfortable taking him in this range. I actually have him in that tier. I actually have him perfectly in that tier with Herbert and Stroud, and then May right below. So I'm actually fine with Caleb at this kind of value.
Yeah, well, CJ Stroud also has that scrambling, rushing upside. It's just he didn't have to use it because his offensive line wasn't as horrible. But they did bulk up that offensive line, so maybe that rushing goes
Texans, down. The Texans' O line really wasn't good. They like completely changed everything. But that's the point, Jamie. Like theirs wasn't good, where they completely changed like their new left tackle. They changed some of the guards, and yet it was still better protection than what the Bears gave Caleb Williams. Now, the Bears, like you said, have also completely changed their offensive line. So both of those teams have remade their offensive line this offseason. So it could be some vastly different results there. It could be, the wide range. But man, Herbert's that one name that stands out to me as being too late. Like there's, heck, I mean, there's some guys who went in the first round I'd take Herbert over. Like I mentioned that earlier. Like Herbert or Brock Bowers in a Superflex, with how valuable QBs are, like I have a really hard time taking the tight end there when Herbert's their quarterback. He's probably the last QB I would go ahead of Bowers, but I still make that distinction. Brock Bowers, if I'm taking that AFC West player, it's not Bowers. I want Mahomes or Herbert. So I think Herbert's maybe one of the best values of the second round.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I completely agree with there, but like. I also just I made this point about Cam Ward a couple episodes ago, but just the value ceiling for these young quarterbacks is immensely high, where if Caleb Williams has a QB6 fantasy scoring season, who's to say he's not a top 5 dynasty asset next year, right?
Stroud QB1, and he finishes the QB10 and he jumped to QB1. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, that could be Caleb in a year that you then trade for. You guys talked about Bo Nix. Don't want to spoil one of my big favorites later, but Jordan Love and a couple firsts and a player. Just playing the value game with the QBs, I'm okay taking a little bit more of a risk on them.
I guess one guy we didn't mention is Trey McBride, but to me, this is kind of where do I have him? I've got him 21, so still even this is still too high, but it's basically this is the range. This is to be where I feel like the tight end should be going. I don't know, there's a bit of a split between him and Bowers, and I'm not quite sure there should be. I really do view them as the 2 guys in the top tier. As great as Bowers' rookie season was, I mean, McBride's target share was insane last year, even more so. He got even less touchdown luck. Yet I still trust his QB more with Murray over Geno Smith. Maybe that's wrong too, but yeah. So I don't know. I think McBride's in a good spot. So there's not much to me. There's not much to say there. But do you guys like McBride here, just inside the top 20?
Yeah, I'll take McBride right in that area.
Yeah,
Usually like
three
mid second even. I'd look at him in like a tight end premium.
Yeah, and tight end premium. I guess like really where I really raise these guys is start 2 tight ends. That's where to me like Bowers, like if it's start 2 tight ends, you have to start minimum 2 every week, and there's this scarcity involved. Suddenly Bowers, I think he should then be the first non-quarterback taken. Then you're really talking about him. It's like him to me, like the decision is Hurts or Bowers at 104. That's where you start talking like the you're changing the starting scarcity for tight ends. That's what really ups their value. And in that instance, I think McBride should also be a first rounder. The tight end premium, I probably raise them to early seconds, but I'm still not quite convinced on first rounders for them. Because I think these elite receivers that can get close to 200 targets and catch 150 passes, like tight end premium be damned, like I still want them. I'm still viewing a guy like Neighbors being that potential guy. So there's still enough that's keeping him out of the first round for me in tight end premium. But I like this range for McBride. Like I'd much rather draft McBride here than have to spend a first rounder on Bowers. That's for sure.
This is such a tasty pocket in drafts. I had 2 guys that we haven't mentioned yet, but I actually have like in the same tier as Neighbors and the same tier as Bijan Gibbs or Puka Nacua and Nico Collins. I'm obviously Nico Collins Glazer number 1, but Puka Nacua, man, like even getting this like a whole round discount on those 2 guys are going to be cornerstone assets. I just love the back half of this this ADP right here.
And you know what? That's probably why third round reversal exists, because it almost feels unfair that the people in the start of the first round, like it feels like almost everyone's equal in the second round. Like the very early second round pick, like you get a CD Lamb that slips, like okay, that's a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
And once that like as soon as you get to like those mid firsts and mid seconds, like it doesn't feel like you got the worst first round pick, and it feels like in the second round you're just taking guys in the same tier. Like if Herbert and Nico Collins are falling to the end of the second round, you love maybe taking a Hurts with like a super risky week to week play and then just getting Herbert right after. Like that almost feels broken.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Nico Collins to Stroud. This is where the teammate theory gets tested because I do have Collins ahead of Stroud. Back to the theory of the quarterbacks and the receivers, like in theory, I should want Stroud over Collins. But it also feels like Collins accounts for so much of Stroud's offense that you're not really missing out on much of that offense if you don't have Collins. And he's put up like true elite numbers where Stroud hasn't yet. Like again, QB 10 is a rookie. And I do think there's ceiling for him to go up and be further. But we've seen Collins at times like stretches last year, like AJ Brown, I think, was the wide receiver 1 after week 1 and then immediately got hurt. And then Collins had a stretch of being the wide receiver 1 and he got hurt. Like everyone kept getting hurt and getting at Chase's way, but there were points where he was producing as better than any receiver in the league early last season. So we've seen that kind of ceiling from Collins, not yet from Stroud. So in my mind, that's what justifies the first instance of this. I'll take the wide receiver over the quarterback on the same team. Would you guys do that too? Would you guys take Collins over Stroud if you're forced to pick?
That's tough because I'd rather have Drake London over Collins. So
interesting.
I take Nico over Stroud.
And I think what makes it easier is the range you're at. You've probably gone QB already. If you're pairing, again, this, I guess the 3 was Jaden Daniels. You're telling me you start Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I'll gladly take Nico Collins. I don't feel like I have to force the issue with Stroud at quarterback. I can wait a round or 2 and get another quarterback. Don't know if I'm going to get another Nico Collins. And even to Jamie's point, if you like Drake London, Rob, you might get him in the 3rd round. Go, Daniels, Stroud, and then London. That might work. But then you could also easily just go, I'll just take Collins and London, and you've built like your number 1 QB and your top 2 receivers suddenly. So
yeah. So in this scenario, yeah, I would if I had Daniels. I would probably go London, but if London was gone, I would take Collins over Stroud. And then with my 3rd pick, there's a quarterback that's about to pop up that I'm not passing up.
All right. Well, you know what? If we're all good, let's get to the 3rd round, guys. So right after Bo Nix at 24, we get the aforementioned Drake London at 25, and then Drake May at 26. Jamie, is that the guy you want to talk about? Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, of course, because I have him closer to like the 16th, 17th overall. and you're getting them at a 10 pick discount. So I'll take that all day.
I'm just a little skeptical on May. There's definitely another quarterback I'd much prefer, and where I'm okay passing on guys like Williams, even passing on Bo Nix and Stroud. I like them, but there's still another quarterback that we still don't even think we see him in this round that I feel like I'd rather have straight up. So May, I don't know. I mean, his points per game last year weren't great, and admittedly, if you look at it, there's 2 games where he got hurt like on the first drive.
Yeah.
But even if you take out those 2 games, which I remember calculating, I think he was at like still 15, 16 points per game. It's good, but to me, not quite good enough to really show that he should be in the top 10. So I'm pretty low on Drake May in my overall rankings. Where is he? 30. He's 38th overall for me. So even lower than this.
Yeah, so I'm in a league, and I was in trade discussions with this guy, and I was trying to get Drake May. He brought up some good points and took out the games that he was hurt or like snaps that he didn't play, and he was QB7 in that league. Might have been a scoring difference, but I mean
that's some alternate math.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, like I think maybe his first game he didn't start necessarily, right? Like he came in, okay, like that one you're only getting half a game. So like there's some instances like that. Even if you take out the 2 essential zeros he got fantasy wise.
I'm certainly closer to Jamie's ranking of May. I think that tier of quarterbacks. Now, you both might not agree with the quarterbacks, but I think he's like firmly in my tier 3 of quarterbacks alongside Herbert, Stroud, and Caleb. And like I mentioned with Caleb, and something we saw way more with Drake May is his ability on the ground. And I actually don't even think Caleb Williams had a rushing touchdown, but that's where I really expect, even in my pre-2024 draft, I always thought that Jaden Daniels was going to put up the most like rushing yards, but I always had a feeling that Drake May is like people describe him as like Josh Allen's brain and like Justin Herbert's body, and someone who's like, he did this a lot at UNC. He was like the guy like pushing it in over the goal line, and that is all to say, I think he can be a difference-making scorer at the QB position. So I'm comfortable with him. Can't even see the screen, but at 26, I have him higher than that. I have him between 15th to 22nd overall.
We're on opposite ends completely, and apparently, this is like the middle ground ADP, right? So, do you guys this is viewing him, the fact that he's fallen in the 3rd round is a huge value.
Well, in my current startup, I got him at the 311.
Wow. Love that band, and I guess I love that ADP. Like I'm 38 overall. I guess is like the 402, right? So that's not that far off from where I am.
But wasn't Bo Nix ahead?
Bo Nix was at the 24. Yeah, so, he was one of those guys to get in the 2nd round.
Yeah, Bo Nix went 312, 1 pick later.
Wow, that's amazing value. And clearly, Jamie, you're still taking May over Bo Nix, which would have been a thing we were all doing last year in rookie drafts.
Oh yeah.
Something I really like about like a 3rd round Drake May is, this might sound really simplistic, but I like Drake May as my QB2 way more than I like as my QB1, because there is a lot of risk with the Drake May type. And if I've already shored up my team with one of those elite, top 3, top 5, even Mahomes, then lumping May as my upside QB2, I feel superb about that.
Yeah, so I have Josh Allen and Drake May on this team.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially with non-3rd round reversal, you can probably make that happen. Right? Get an elite receiver at the end of the 2nd and bookend that with QBs in the 1st and 3rd round, and that way, you can take. I think there is risk with May, but if you've got a super secure quarterback in the 1st, then you can definitely afford to take on that risk in this upside. After May, it's funny, we get picks. So we got the early 26 first. We have a couple other picks in this round. We have our 2nd rookie almost immediately, Omarion Hampton at 28, followed by a teammate of his, Lad McConkey at 29, another running back in Devon Achane at 30, and then a couple more firsts. But Hampton going as the 102 in a lot of rookie drafts. Again, it makes sense to see him as the 2nd guy here. You think 3rd round is too early for Hampton? It's basically a round difference between him and Genty right now in startup. Is that too close together for them? Is that too far?
I think it's right around this area he should be going. I have him around at 27, I think 28. Lad McConkey, I would take him above Hampton.
Yeah. There are like some names we could nitpick before Hampton. I mean, if anything, he's my RB5. And I see RB4 right below him. Like, but don't want to, as you get further and further down, I don't want to nitpick about individual names too much. I think it's a fine range to take that shot, because I think we all feel very, very good about Marion Hampton.
Even though he's not a first rounder, I still have Achane ahead of him. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, Jamie. Like, back to the teammate thing. Like, yeah, I'm taking the wide receiver on the team over the running back, especially when the running back has clear competition. Like, we saw McConkey just earn targets last year. He's tied to Justin Herbert. I would have McConkey as well over Hampton. So sometimes you might have to make it. Like, it's funny how many of these teammates are ranked in similar spots. I found that as I'm doing my rankings too, and maybe ADP it might not be as extreme, but like, it's funny how many times I'm picking between one Charger or another, one Raider or another. I just find it interesting. I don't know. I have anything else to add to that? Just rambling at this point. Rahul, do you agree with that take of if you're taking a Charger here at this point, Herbert's off the board, the second Charger to go should be McConkey over Hampton? Or
I do agree, and I do have like definitely a few of these wide receivers that you're seeing right below, above Hampton, my overall rankings. Just again, preference to how we build, I would say.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree. Like, we see after the couple first, we get Marvin Harrison at 33, Jackson Smith-Njigba 34, AJ Brown at 35, ending the third round with a running back in Bucky Irving. So yeah, I kind of agree, especially with those receivers. Like, oh man, I love AJ Brown. I think he's such a value here. I know he's a bit older, and he's the oldest receiver drafted at this point that you're going to probably see in the first 4 rounds. But the production he gets, the target share he gets, I know the overall volume of the offense isn't great, but so much of it is going to AJ Brown that I think he's fine. I'm willing to take the bet on him.
Yeah. I mean, I love AJ Brown. It's a little maybe
Actually,
don't love it too much if you talk
the
about
ranges they're going in. You could probably easily stack Hurts. Like, take Hurts in the first, and you can get stack Brown in the third round. You still get another second pick to kind of like establish yourself as like, hey, the Eagles team, but also whoever your second round pick is. Like, those are foundational pieces of your offense.
Yeah, I don't mind that range for him. I would move up Garrett Wilson above him. But other than that, yeah, that's right where I would start targeting him.
Because to me, I kind of view McConkey in the same tier as Harrison and Garrett Wilson, as you mentioned, Jamie, Drake London.
JSN.
So, yeah. JSN's just and to me, I know we because like you see here, it says the 32nd pick is an early 25 first. So they've kind of just instead of specifying the picks, like, it's funny how the early 25 first is lower than the 6 or the 7, 26 or 27 picks. But I also think rookie drafts are done at this point. You've made the picks. Like, the future, like, you kind of lose a bit of the value. It's like a car, right? As soon as you drive it off the lot, you lose value. Like, part of the value of the picks is that it can be anything until it becomes something that it's stuck being that asset. You make the draft pick and you choose Teterow and McMillan. It's now Teterow and McMillan. You don't get the flexibility of the pick. But this is also, I think, the range where I would, like, because I do have McMillan and Hunter pretty close to Hampton. And I agree. I think this is the range Hampton probably should go. I'd agree that, like, this is maybe where also those rookie wide receivers should go too. Should start seeing McMillan and Hampton, because I do have them ahead of JSN. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago. That was the one big difference in our top 16 is that I essentially had JSN behind the rookies. I love Bucky Irving, but yeah, this does feel a little too early. Like,
that is way early. Yeah, I have him like 55.
He is the next running back for me, but I probably don't want to go running back at this point, right? Like, if I've missed out on Bijan and Gibbs, I've missed out on Achane and Genty and even Hampton, probably don't want to force the issue of running back. Like, this is maybe where I'd want to take Barkley. But if he's not going this range, then maybe just forget it and hope that a running back I view as a value falls later. And again, I love Irving. I think he's correctly ranked as the RB7, but just probably a round too early. I don't think I have quite down as 55, 44 for me, Jamie. So about a round difference there, but I think the same principle. Even though I love Bucky Irving, I will agree he is the one that stands out as probably being the guy that's too early in this round. But it's fortunate that he's also the last pick of this round. so it's maybe not as egregious. Like 36 on 44, that's only 8 spots. Like it's a little over half a round too early.
You also have to remember they're adding in those 2006 first, 2007 first.
That's true too. So you really like in terms of if you're player take he's the 33rd overall player.
Yeah,
that's fair too, JB.
Yeah, but when you put it's, I'm glad you guys brought up Kyle brought up the rookie wide receivers. But if you cross out Travis Hunter, Tedero, McMillan, put in 103, 104, 105, like I think Jamie, we saw like a trade like a couple weeks ago where it's like 109 and Bucky Irving. So it seems something seems a little bit off with the value there.
Actually, that's a really good point because the structure of the draft is totally different, right? Are rookies involved? Like, are you just straight up picking the rookies from this year in your startup, or are you picking your rookie picks for this year? Like, I've even seen some startups where no one has their 26 first. All the 26 picks are available in the startup. Everyone gets their own 27, 28 onward, but your 25 rookie picks that'll be done after the startup, as well as your 26 rookie picks, are all in the startup draft. So those could be taken at any point. Sometimes it's the pick number, like 2026 101 is already established. That's available. Or sometimes it's each person's own team. So those 26 first order isn't always decided, right? It's always interesting. Oh, this team's kind of tanking rebuilding. Let me get their first 2026. I mean, ideally, those teams should that's like the first thing those teams should get. So if you're in a draft and you see someone immediately take their 26 first, they're probably tanking, but of course their first is gone. So prioritize their seconds once you get to the second round. But how do you guys like to do dynasty startups when it comes to rookies?
I always put the rookies in because if you don't, it's random to me because I want to build around a specific team. I don't want to have to guess and what's going to be the 108. Like, I don't know what's going to be there. Like, what if the guy that I really want isn't available? Why not just take the Buka or take Jackson Dart?
The team building aspect's enough, even more than the value in this, that you'd want to just see the rookie names there.
Yeah,
especially post draft, right? Like if you're doing a startup before the draft, but then the rookie draft ends up being after the draft. I think that's like the perfect structure. If you want to do it that way too, you might still want to wait for the startup though, because the value changes to veteran players.
The only way you should not be doing it, for anyone listening, my very first dynasty draft ended up being like this, is do not let your commissioner set your first rookie draft order to the reverse order of however your startup draft went, because that is egregiously unbalanced.
The third round reversal helps a little bit. Actually, no, the third round reversal wouldn't help at all. You definitely wouldn't want to do a third round reversal.
No,
because that would help too much of the team. Because the early rookie draft, like that shores up so quickly. So if you are going to do that, even though I agree with Rahul, that's probably not the way you should do it. Don't have a third round reversal, because then you're like that'll slightly balance it more, and you're helping the people in the startup. Because like the rookie draft 112 is a lot different than the 101. The 101 to 112 in a start. I mean, you can get CeeDee Lamb at the 112 of the startup. Like, you're still feeling pretty good about that pick, even if you don't get Josh Allen. There's still a foundational piece. No one's really happy taking like Tyler Warren or Jackson Dart 112 versus the Ashton Denty team.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Rahul, is like if you had the 112 in a startup and then the rookie draft right after, that person should not get the 101, right?
Exactly.
Just don't do it like that, right? Like,
so
don't do it like that.
Just the last time that I had the two drafts separate, and I told the commission, I'm like, this is dumb, because what he did is I had the 101 in the startup. And he also gave me the 101 in the rookie draft.
That's even worse.
What happened? It was randomized, and I just happened to get the 101 also.
He randomized both. That's insane.
Yes.
That's even worse. Wow.
So I think I got I think it was like Bijan 101 or something. But like anyway, the very next year, I ended up I went from worst to first because I tanked that year on purpose just to get the next 101, and then I won last year, and I'm going to win next year and the year after, and I'm just going to.
I mean, you might have won the first year if you didn't tank too, though. Right?
Well, I didn't tank on purpose at first. I saw that I was in Yeah.
Bijan started slow to his rookie year too, so even if you had him, you didn't necessarily win now like you thought he was going to. Yeah, so I kind of like the idea of having the rookie picks in the startup, and that way you get to do 2 drafts. But it's also, unlike what Rahul said, it's fair, right? Everyone picks the rookie picks for this year, and like wherever you draft in the startup is where you go, so that no one's guaranteed to get anything. But also you let people choose, right? I'm choosing this over a player, so I find that's a much more fair way to do that if you're going to have 2 separate drafts. I'd say just do an auction, but that's me. But I guess it's me saying, do we want to just lightning round look at the 4th round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do this real quick. So yeah, Garrett Wilson, we already mentioned him starting, and we see a lot of R's here. So we have Travis Hunter at 38, so another rookie, and then Breece Hall 39, and then Tedoroa McMillan, the first rookie wide receiver. I guess Travis Hunter counts. He's not just a DB. So we got those 2 rookie wide receivers, 38 and 40. Kyron Williams at 41, Jamie. Sam Laporte at 42. And another running back here, Jonathan Taylor at 43, followed by first quarterback we've seen in a while, Jordan Love at 44. And I guess, Travion Henderson, 45. Cam Ward, 46. So a couple more rookies. Have you guys regularly seen Henderson go ahead of Ward even in Superflex rookie drafts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would do it 100 times out of 100 times.
I mean, I don't have either, so I don't know. I don't know who I really want, but I don't think I'd be taking Travion over Cam Ward.
I wouldn't even once.
No, I know you definitely wouldn't, Rahul. I feel like Cam Ward should be the 105. I have a hard time taking any of those second round running backs over the first overall pick.
I can't put Jackson Dart 104. That's just too high. So I can't have 105.
You're still on the I get it. You're still on the Dart over Ward. I mean, to me, it's all a moot point because we got the 26 mid first at 47. Kyler Murray at 48. Finally, again,
that is way too low.
I mean, I think he should be in a borderline second round pick. To be honest,
I agree. I think I'm glad. I'm sorry, Kyle, if you look it up, but I'm glad we're doing this one because this is I feel like a round that could it's not gonna make or break your dynasty franchise, but your startup draft, there seems to be a lot of hits and a lot of misses in this 36 to 50 kind of range just listed here. I feel like I see a lot of players that should be either way ahead of this range or I would take well below this range.
So this is interesting because remember I traded my 105 straight up for Kyler Murray. I thought I was like, holy crap, I got such a great value. It's because I have Kyler ranked way higher. I think I have him in the 30, 31 range. Here, he's going after Cam Ward, who goes 102, 103. So, I mean, that's right on equal value, 105.
I was making the argument if you were at 101 and you absolutely desperately needed a quarterback, especially in 14 or even 16 team leagues, the best move was to trade it for a guy like Kyler Murray. You could probably easily get Kyler Murray in a plus added by giving up the 101. I think that would have been a way smarter move than just taking Cam Ward 101 if you felt it's 14 team, you got to do it there. I wouldn't. I'd look to trade first, and there's a lot of QBs I'd try and trade that pick for. Jordan Love, this instance, right? That's I kind of Love over Ward for sure. So
yeah.
Yep. But I mentioned earlier, this is where I was kind of thinking about those rookie wide receivers right behind Garrett Wilson. I think makes a lot of sense. So, Jamie, I'm gonna kind of agree with you. Most of the running backs in this round, I don't like.
Yeah,
I know you're gonna like Breece Hall, but I don't love taking any of them here. Really, I'd rather still wait, get the older guys who I think will outproduce them. How many more rounds do you have to wait to get McCaffrey or Henry or even Alvin Kamara? At this point, I'd rather not force the issue at running back. If Bucky Irving was in this round, as we see here at 36, he's not that far away. But if this is where if he fell, I'd go with him and start going with maybe some of those. Henderson in theory, because I like that he's a rookie, but Judkins and Harvey as well. Add them all in. He's
one.
Henderson's probably the best running back to take in this round, I think.
Yeah, and if you had, depending on how you're building your team, as a win now, I could see someone going Jonathan Taylor in this range. I wouldn't do it personally, but I wouldn't be mad at it.
There's one running back that I have ranked ahead of all of them: Kyron, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. He's the same year as Kyron and Brees Hall, so he's about to exit his rookie contract, go to a second contract, but I kind of want Ken Walker over all of them. And that's very apropos because we're going to get to our trade of the week. So there's a look at first 4 rounds of ADP. And honestly, I just wanted to bring up Ken Walker real quick because he's the last player involved in this trade that we hadn't named yet. So now we've named them all. So it's a very appropriate trade for this. And Rahul, this happened in one of your leagues, a 10-team start 10 Superflex half PPR. Those settings, we should know it's Rahul. Loves the half PPR dynasty. So Rahul, on one side, we have AJ Brown and Ken Walker. And on the other side, Devon Achane and a 2026 first. So before we analyze the trade, is there any context you think we need for this trade?
I am involved in this trade. Should I reveal it at the end?
Sure.
Don't let us know.
It's true. I didn't know. You just said this happened in the league. I can't remember if I saw that you said you were involved or not. But
I am involved in this trade, and I will say maybe one piece of context is that 26 first comes from an owner who historically has very early first. It's been the 101 or the 102 for the last 3 years. Obviously,
that gives it away. Then clearly we know what side Rahul's on. Then if he's giving away his early 26 first,
I know. No,
I'm just kidding. No, clearly it's not Rahul's team.
I do at least want to say at the very, it's a mid first. This is not a pick that I expect to be like the 110. So if that adds crucial context.
Jamie, I don't know about you, but the 26 first stands out as the one longest term future value pick, whereas everything else feels like it's kind of like you're pushing win now. Like Walker's about to end his rookie contract. Achane's he's still a good young running back. I still have him as the RB4, but he's not that far away of getting there. I mean, this is about to be year 3 for him, so it's that 26 first does stand out in that sense, but is it enough value?
If it's going to be a top 6 pick, I think I'm going to go on that side just because, I mean, Achane, he's going to put up points. I do like Walker, though, and AJ Brown. That is a sexy combo right there that I would want on a team that I'm trying to win a championship now.
I mean, I've got them all back-to-back in my rankings.
Yeah, so
Achane's 24th and AJ Brown's 26th. So it's the value-wise, I think, is super close, and you expect both to be top 10 producers at their positions. Even more so, I think, for Achane.
Yeah, this one's super tough.
I guess it comes down to would you give a 26 first for Ken Walker? Is that or is that the sellout price on Walker? Are you taking that first?
Walker to me is worth a late first, 110 to 112 range. Oh man, AJ Brown maybe the similar. So I think I'm going to go on the Achane 106 side just because that 106 or whatever that 2026 first, that pick's not good. That's not going to get injured. So it's not going to decrease in value. Let's say Walker gets hurt. Oh, he's going to plummet. Same with AJ Brown.
I mean, if any of these guys get hurt, Achane, because he's the youngest in theory, he would hold it a little bit, but we're still so year to year with running backs. If we're thinking, man, we're losing his 3rd season, and then he might come back in year 4 and be the same, but not. And then we're already onto the second contract and really don't even know. That's where that asset just slides. So I think a serious enough injury that all of them lose value. So that's why I think my first instinct of, man, that 26 first, that's the longest term value play here. Man, again, I love Ken Walker. I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast, but with my running back film grade scouting that I do, and I'm just an amateur, I'm no pro. Daniel Jeremiah or Bucky Brooks after all. Those guys are amazing. But since 2020, I've been using the same method. And with that method, Ken Walker actually has the highest film score, even higher than Bijan Robinson. So I've loved Ken Walker since I first saw him on tape. And I don't know, I think he hasn't quite hit to what my expectations were for him. So at this point, is it, the true elite Ken Walker season is never going to happen the way I viewed it in my mind. So maybe it is time to get out. I love AJ Brown, but again, it's as he ages. I mean, he's I don't even know who the next oldest running back would be that's kind of in his same age range. How deep in ADP we have to go to kind of get there. Yeah, I think I'm leaning with you, Jamie. I think I'm going to go Achan and the 26 first.
Yeah, especially if you're in a complete rebuild, I would definitely go with that side.
Well, here, okay.
I don't assume
that's-
Rahul's in a complete rebuild. I assume he's going for it every year, but this doesn't necessarily hurt those chances as much as
Yeah.
you might see on the
So
results.
I do completely agree with, I received the Achan and 26 first side, but I do think this is really a dead even, like 50-50 trade, I would say. And like, even if I would love to say it's a mid 26 first, historically early first, we don't know. We don't know where that's going to end up. What prompted me to make this trade? And it's on a team that has been to the finals 2 years in a row, won 2 years ago, lost last year the finals by unfortunately, two very, very small points. But what prompted me is my wide receiver core, even after losing AJ Brown, is still Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, and Malik Neighbors, Amon Ra, and DJ Moore is my wide receiver five. so
That's probably the guy you were talking about at the
Yeah.
same age.
Well, it's the thing. I just looked, Jamie, and I was kind of trying to look. Okay, what's the next oldest wide receiver in ADP? And sure enough, DJ Moore, wide receiver 74, is like the next in that age range behind AJ Brown. We're talking like an early 7th to a guy we were talking about as a late 3rd round pick, right? But I'd much rather have AJ Brown than DJ Moore. Like I think that ADP is fine. If anything, DJ Moore is probably going too early. But to that point, like, man, how many more seasons do we get of this of AJ Brown? Is it best to get out on him while his value is still here?
Yeah.
He's probably not going to go to become a 2nd rounder anymore. Like he might hold here as a 3rd rounder, like a startup value for the next couple seasons, but he's probably not going to increase in value. Like, man, what if Achan finishes the RB1 this year? Like, I guess going into year 4, is he still young enough that he's going to be suddenly close to a mid 2nd rounder in startups? Is that
we saw Saquon in the R ranking, or the ADP we're looking at, 16th overall, and
so from
I think that overall
standpoint, room to grow for the asset. So yeah,
and I think the overall RB1 ceiling that Achan does possess, when we come back to like a little bit of context about my team, my running back room, in contrast with obviously that wide receiver room that I just wanted to flex a little bit, it was just Kyron Williams, Kenneth Walker, and RJ Harvey that I drafted this year. It really needed an RB1 to come and step into the room. So that's, I do think it's a fair 50-50 trade, but it fit my team needs, I felt, a little bit more. And now I do have that extra first in my pocket.
And what I meant by, like, you're not getting Ken Walker's points, but if you could already replace that on guys on your bench, you're maybe not even losing too much. But that 26 first might buy you a contending piece later that like Ken Walker might not have bought you off a rebuilding team. Like, oh, I don't want to sell you this piece for Ken Walker. I'd rather get picks, right? So you can more teams will maybe want to
exactly. My favorite strategy to do in Dynasty leagues, again, it's not rocket science, but I like to wait as close to the league deadline as possible to buy, that hammer RB, because at that point, you not only have the most information you'll ever have about who's good, you'll also have the shortest amount of weeks where you need this running back out of injury volatile position to stay healthy. So adding that ammo for that, again, it was a sensible move, I think, that I came away pretty happy from.
And that's the best time to do it if you know you're going to make the playoffs. Like, this is a move I'm purely making for the playoffs. If you're kind of a middling team, you might want to make that move just a little earlier to push you. Like, that's more weeks you win in the playoffs. But again, that's more weeks where you risk the asset getting injured and going to 0 in terms of value. Have we gone to 0 on our time for trade of the week? We might have, because we have a second trade of the week. Franco joined us in the chat, so appreciate you for joining, Franco, and asking if we do trade advice. I mean, we're in the trade of the week section, so this is literally the perfect time to ask. But at any point, anyone join us in the chat here, and we will answer your Dynasty questions. Would you consider giving away DK Metcalf in 2 seconds for Waddle and a 3rd? Would you adjust anything if not? So current wide receiver room consists of Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, Matthew Golden, and this is a PPR 12 team.
I kind of want to know, is it seconds this year, and what seconds are there? Is it also Superflex or single quarterback?
True. That's a big context there.
Yeah.
And then if you can tell us also the number of starters you have, that'd also be great context.
Yeah. So for
just
me,
on the surface, I'm seeing right now, in June, I'm imagining rookie drafts are done. These are all future picks. Like everything is a 26 second and 26 third. At least that's in my mind how I first approach the trade. But yeah, let us know for sure the context, Franco.
But for me, Waddle and DK aren't very far apart. I think I have like Waddle in that like 27, 28 range. DK's in that like 30, 31 maybe. So there's no way I'm going to give up 2 seconds for a third just to move up two or three spots.
Yeah.
They should be in the same tier. Oh, it is Superflex. Okay.
And that, I think, if it's one QB, I'm more likely to make the trade because, like, to me, the picks are less valued because there's no quarterback. So you don't mind necessarily giving up the 2 seconds to move up, right? But, like, because it's Superflex, it's a 26 second and a 28 second. So the fact that one of those seconds is 3 years out, does that change the equation at all for you?
No, not at all. Because
I think
don't
the
even
appeal
know
of the seconds is the flexibility, right? The fact you can trade it. If anything, sometimes pushing picks out actually is an advantage because it gives you more time to trade them for the assets you really want, as opposed to, man, I'm having to trade this now and make my bet on a player in May or June. Rahul's point, right? I'd rather make this bet in November or December when there's less variables to go the rest of the way.
So he's asking, do I value Waddle over DK? Yeah, by like 2 or 3 spots. I also have Ayuk in that range, and we all know how I feel about him. If you watched last week's episode.
That's wild, because I definitely don't have Ayuk in that range. I'm a little higher on Waddle. I've got him at wide receiver 23, so he jumps into the wide receiver 2 range. And maybe that's just because there seems to be so many questions about Tyreek Hill. I don't know that Waddle's that far away from getting back to that true target alpha earner that we saw like immediately when he was in the NFL. And so I guess there's some confidence there.
So, like, but even the quarterbacks, I understand the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. They don't have a quarterback. Yeah. But Tua, everyone's worried about Tua and his concussions. Is he going to bounce back? Like, how does he do coming off injury?
No, there's definitely some scary things there.
And Waddle and DK are only like a year apart in age.
Waddle was an old rookie. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Point, because I mean, there's like draft class wise, they're like 3 years apart. I think 3 years, or maybe just 2 years. 2019 to 2021. I guess just 2 years. But or was he 2018? Doesn't matter at this point. But what does matter is, Jamie, I think I do agree with you. As much as I do have Waddle, say, I think 7 wide receiver spots ahead of Metcalf, that's still a pretty big tier. So even if it's 7 spots difference, 2 seconds might not be enough. There might be a trade of the week next week that I've already planned because of a certain topic we're going to talk about next week to kind of maybe explain the concept of thirds versus seconds and how they can be an advantage. As crazy as that sounds, if you want to find out, tune in next week what crazy theory Kyle's going to have. But you didn't mention the type of format that would count in, so that context won't happen here. But pretty happy with the receiver room, to be honest. It's my backs I'm more worried about, but I was considering it. So I think if you're worried about running backs and feel like you want to buy, like those seconds might be the pieces you need to buy a running back, right? So I think that'd be my hesitation, is that especially if you're not really addressing the position you want to. I think the problem with DK, I've learned this, is that a couple leagues, or one league in particular I had him in, he was so hard to trade this offseason, and it felt like even after the Pickens trade happened, he didn't really increase his value much. So I ended up like just packaging him with the first to get Saquon Barkley in a team that's like consistently a playoff team, has won the league a couple times, but it's been a few years. So I'm like, I want to get back in the winner's circle. I went back-to-back 19-20, and that was a great streak for a while. Someone just went back-to-back these past 2 years and beat me in the semifinals to make it happen. So it's like desperation time. Like I'm pushing it all in. Like I want Barkley. I want to go and win again. So that might not have been a great decision, but that also shows like DK is not really a flexible asset that a lot of teams want right now. So if you're trading for him, you're kind of stuck like with him on your team. I kind of like a Barkley, but I'd rather have Barkley's points than
so he says he has Brees and ETN. I like Brees. I'm high on Brees. I have him in the top 7, 8, like right in that Travion Henderson range. ETN, man, is scary.
Could you go buy for a second, right? Like if you just want to go buy
so you might be able to get James Cook with the whole contract issue thing going. You could probably get Kyron Williams if you really want, but I don't.
I got Derrick Henry for a 203. Well, I guess he has 26 22nd and 28nd. Yeah, not to cut you off there, Jamie, but I'm thinking more like the Kamara, Connor, Montgomery, like Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba. I was gonna say Chuba would be my
Chuba.
top
I
guy.
would love to get.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Dynasty Data. I mean, we just were on the Dynasty Data ADP, and the seconds look like they're like 103rd overall, 105th overall for an early 26 second, and a mid 26 second is 116th overall. There's one running back between them, and it's Brian Robinson. Just after that, you've got Cam Scatterbo, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, and then we get to Travis Etienne, who he has. So, like Conner and Swift, I kind of like buying them. I mean, I don't hate buying Robinson because they barely added any competition to the draft. So, like, those might just be some ideas, Franco, on like those could be the types of running backs you could buy for a second. But I also don't think you have to rush that now. Like, you're not scoring points until September. Robinson, and I mean, he, saying maybe I'll target Robinson. He's still on his rookie contract, unlike those other guys. So I think that might be why he's a little earlier in the ADP. He's probably the one I would go for too for that reason, is that you still get, you're not just necessarily buying him as a rental. It's not just for this year. Like, this is maybe a multi-year solution at running back with Robinson. But I also don't think you have to make this move now. Like, to Rahul's point of waiting, I'd wait to do this in like August, like really early September, and trade for him just in time to get him in your week 1 lineup to get those points there. But I don't think you need to rush. So no rush, just brainstorming. Like, you've got still like 2 months, essentially 3 months really, to have to make this move. So you can find the best value. I mean, is there a way to get a cheap running back for even just a third? And the other thing is, could you trade Metcalf for a running back? And where does that line up too? I guess, does anyone know where Metcalf is in this ADP?
Maybe like mid 60s, I would have to guess.
But 70. If he loses Metcalf, then his receiver core is going to suffer.
So, maybe you're right. Maybe, that's a good point, Jamie. His receiver. I was confusing with Rahul's receiver team when we were talking about the trade of the week. We were in the trade of the week section. Everything's mixed up here. But seeing Metcalf at 86th overall, if he wanted to convert to a running back, the guy that's right next to him is Joe Mixon. Alvin Kamara, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery are later just behind. Yeah, that might be. They might maybe just stick with Metcalf and try and buy running backs for picks, especially
Metcalf. Like no matter who the quarterback, I think is for the Steelers. Like Metcalf at some point is gonna go for like 120 and 2. Like just the player that he is, the offense that they're gonna run. I think there will be a point at which Metcalf is going to be a lot more liquid and desirable. It might not be
liquid as Jamie's taking the drink, probably blood of his teammates, right? Or,
Vampire blood of big game James.
Now ETN, man, people are so down on him, but I do think he is going to step it up at least for the first half of the year, and that is going to be a window that you can sell him. Like, sell him high, like get a tier up like ETN in a second for Kenneth Walker or something like that.
Yeah, would love making that move. Maybe that's how you use your second. It's not to just buy a running back.
I don't think ETN's dead. ETN, they drafted LaQuint Allen and Tootin. I love Tootin. I got him in my top 24. Go in my dynasty ranks. So
for rookies.
Yeah, but he is probably going to take a while.
Just for the folks at home, so that they don't go crazy. I mean, I guess top 24 running back ranking might not be that horrible either, just because we love running backs. But
no, I'm talking top 24 dynasty running backs.
Okay, you are talking. Okay, you weren't talking rookies. You're talking running backs over. Okay, again, rookie contract guys, like that's not horrible. So I don't think.
I like Tootin over Scatterbo. I'd rather have Tootin over Montgomery in a rebuild. I love Golden. Yes.
I'm the Packers fan and I don't, but maybe that's Packers bias.
I'm in on Golden.
I'm in on them. I've been drafting them a lot, especially in best ball, because in best ball, you want those speedy downfield guys that just go off at any minute.
But to Jamie's point, I don't necessarily agree with Golden being great, but he might be. Like, he's a first rounder, so there's definitely things about his profile that's great. But I do agree with you on the Etienne. I think the Jags' incentive to give Etienne every touch is that he's probably not back on the team next year. So they don't really care what shape he's in 2026. to absorb every carry we need you to in 2025. So I think his volume will actually stay good, and it's a contract year for him. He'll maybe be incentivized to I'll just take that punishment, try and produce as best I can as a way to springboard to that long-term contract, hopefully next year. So I think, exactly. Like if Etienne probably will get a lot of work early on, he'll probably want to do that too. And then as the season goes on, maybe that's when they start to incorporate Tootin more as part of the plans in the future. We don't want to give him too much punishment right away. So part of that is like working in Etienne's favor. So yeah, I guess the idea of wait till he starts producing. He has a big splash game early in the season, sell him off that, and you might do the same with Metcalf. If let's say Rodgers goes there, but to Rahul's point, all it takes is one big game during the season, and he can also skyrocket in value there. So yeah, I think you're set up well, Franco. You don't have to necessarily pressure to make a move right now. Just take your time and find what you think is the best value available. But I think you're thinking it process based on the questions you're asking. You think you're in the right category here. I think you're kind of aiming in the right spots.
Yeah, and I never buy running backs this time of year. I'll sell them, but I'm not buying them. So always wait until after at least the third week of the preseason.
And just get by all those injury chances, right? You go through all training camp, all through the preseason, and Franco apparently subs. So thank you, Franco. Appreciate that subscription. Appreciate the time you spent with us as well. We love answering questions about Dynasty Fantasy Football. And that's what we do here every week on the Dynasty Six Pack. Here at part of the Fantasy Six Pack podcast, as well as the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe wherever you are. You can also follow us. We're all on Twitter. Jamie's at Jahmyr Perog. Easy enough with the name. No artist formerly known as Jamie. No like random weird symbol. He's no Prince. He might be the King of Darkness apparently, but no, not Prince Jamie. But at Jahmyr Perog. Rahul's at Small Talk FF. That was a bit of small talk there just to prop up Jamie. I'm at Senra Says, always saying a bunch of wild, crazy stuff. But Franco says he'll be back, and we'll definitely be back next week. But before we go, any final thoughts that aren't my crazy rant?
Who's going to say it? Our best episode yet. I got it this time. No, again, very fun. June, get into startup strategy. Very excited for great episode and very excited for what we have in store. So yeah, thank you both, as well as thank you for all the viewers for bearing with us.
And I was just gonna say, go kill your drafts. That's it.
Leave them like your back row will be like Jamie's when you murder all your league mates, apparently, by just drafting so much better than them. It's great imagery we should be leaving people with there. But yes, we're going to be talking again more startups throughout the month. Definitely going to talk a specific format of startup next week. So tune in if you want to hear some money content. It'll be worth the bid. I swear it'll be worth all the jokes too. And you'll have to find out.
I've been riding these for a while.
No, I'm actually just thinking of these off the top. That's why they're not that good. But it'll be really good if you all tune in next week on the Fantasy Six Pack. The Dynasty Six Pack. That's the show. Fantasy Six Pack Network. Dynasty Six Pack show. I'll go out for say anything else stupid. Bye for now, folks.